Welcome back, everybody. It is Out of the Fog. So happy to be hanging out with my friends here tonight. And the first up is an amazing creative tour de force. Oh,
not true.
It's true. Elling, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. The fashion always. We were having a little jeans moment earlier, but the glasses too.
Oh, what? Oh.
I mean, is there anything you can't wear?
Right? I am very uncomfortable with you.
Thank
you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I love it.
I put thought into it.
I can talk about the hat as well, but I'm not going to go there. I want to talk, well, we'll double back towards the end. I want to talk about creative courage. You've changed my life, by the way. Just throw that in there.
Oh, okay.
Here's why.
Thank you.
Unpossible NL is an organization that's dedicated to creative courage. I grew up an artist and never understood the power and responsibility of creative courage until you coined the term in one of the meetings years ago, and I walked away being like, creative courage, man. Yes. And now almost every episode, no matter who I'm interviewing, I bring it back to that moment, because no matter what industry you're in, creativity is a part of everything, and the courage to put yourself out there or put something forth is, to me, an amazing thing. Would you agree?
Yeah, giving yourself the permission to be creative and to explore, and it's an important part of learning and important part of just figuring out what you're capable of.
Failing fast and the whole subject around that is very recent in society. Growing up, it wasn't that way. You weren't encouraged to make mistakes.
Yeah, you had to be perfect.
Exactly.
Now we can mess up all the time.
Perfect.
Yeah, just do it over and over. just pick yourself up. No, the idea is just if you get knocked down, pick yourself up. That's the central idea for creative courage. And for what I do, the RPM Challenge, I encourage people to make music. So if you like music, why not try to make it?
Totally. And now that sounds easy once you move through the hoops of what that means. If you've ever wrote a song or a rhyme or strummed a guitar or dinged a note on a passing keyboard, that's flirty. You're like, oh, maybe I could do this. But the RPM Challenge, in case you guys watching don't know, is an opportunity for you to put creative courage in the forefront and to musically try your hand at creating a song or 35 minutes of music.
It's a flexible length goal this year, actually. We've opened it up.
Wow.
Because previously it was, the RPM is a creative challenge to anybody to record music in the month of February.
That's right.
And previously it was 10 songs or 35 minutes of music, so an album. That's a big ask for people who are just getting their feet wet,
right.
or even professional musicians. It's a big ask. Anybody. So we were just like, why not just open it up? It's about giving people permission to try something. It's not a contest. So the only expectations are your own. You come into it with your own goals and making that change to a flexible length goal. So you can record a track, you can record an EP, you can record an LP, you can record a box set, you can record 30 songs, 100 songs, whatever you want. If you want to do that, go for it. Just we want to give people that goal to set their eyes on and shoot for.
I think it's amazing. I think that the opening up the length is very timely, because in the music industry in general, we're finding ourselves very much back in the 50s and 60s again, where it's about the single versus creating a full album. So music as an industry is evolving at the speed of life as well, which is, I guess, very timely for this change in the RPM recording challenge, eh?
Yeah, I mean, I love albums. I love it, finding an album that you can sit down and listen to the entire thing. Who has time for that now, I guess? But most of the music that we consume is bit by bit, so
yeah, true.
Track by track. But if one album, there's nothing quite like an album. Really.
It's true. And yet, to your point, the holistic experience of sitting down and putting on an album and uninterruptedly absorbing the energy of that, it's its own art.
Yeah, I mean, there's still that. I mean, people buy records now,
the
vinyl records, and that's the experience they're getting. They're just putting it on, 20 minutes, You know, you flip it over, you get 20 minutes.
It's funny because I think about the RPM and how many years it's been a vehicle for artists to try their hand at recording. And so many artists who have flirted with the idea of recording via the RPM challenge have gone on to become, you know, full-time world touring musicians. It's true. Wow. You're a big star. Yeah. But it's amazing. Hey, it must make you feel proud.
Oh, so proud. So proud of every project. Like, even if it's like someone who sets out to make a terrible album. Like, I love those projects. There are those people. Like, actually, that's kind of inspiring. It's like, oh yeah, you can set out to make a bad album as well. So I love every project, but I'm very proud of the people who took their very first step into recorded music, and really that snowball just kept going and going and going. Like people like, I don't know, Steve Maloney, Kat McLeavy, young artist who's attending Berkeley right now, and it's going to take the world by storm. Watch out, everybody.
I follow.
Yes.
Yeah, huge fan.
But anyway, she's just started recording her own songs through the RPM, and that kind of thing really makes me proud, that it gave them permission to just do that, and then the door was cracked open wide enough that people could look in and be like, oh my God, wow, what is that?
Then they kick open that.
Yeah, and then they opened the door and felt more comfortable. You know, it's they developed the creative courage. So that's where.
That's the theme.
Yeah.
So there's so many things that I'm sure if someone is passing by the TV and saying, what are they talking about now? What's going on? What would you like people watching this hang here to know about this year?
Yeah, the RPM Challenge is open to everybody. It's not a contest. And people in Newfoundland really have taken it on. There are more than 100 albums that have been coming out of the RPM, Newfoundland and Labrador every single year for the past like 10 years through the RPM.
Wow.
More than 100.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I mean, the strength of the community. I mean, I could go wax poetic about what Newfoundland means, and the strength of the music community and the music heritage and things like that. But I think it comes down to the community. People love. They play music for each other. They play music for themselves, and there's this kind of overlap here that is just a sweet spot. And the RPM has, grown because of that.
Wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
And your position within the RPM has grown as well, may we say.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
There is that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, but not to take the magic out of your mouth.
No, go for it.
But, like Elling bringing the RPM here across the province now has a far more leadership stake in the equation.
Yes. Yeah. So, I mean, the RPM, it started in a little town in New Hampshire. It was a little newspaper called The Wire in the seacoast town of Portsmouth that started this for their readers. And that first year, they were just blown away by the response and opened it up internationally the next year. And I was working at the Scope newspaper in 2006, and Brianna Greeno and I, we were like, wow, that would work really well in St. John's and in Newfoundland. And so we approached them and said, hey, why don't we bring that here? So that was in 2008 that we opened it up to people in St. John's, and got 22 albums that year. That was a lot of albums. But then the next year we got something like 46, and then 75, and then 86, and 105, or I don't know, on up until we're averaging about 110 every year.
So where can we go now in the final minute or so of our hang? Where can folks go online to figure out how to submit and become a part of this amazing movement?
Well, there's a new website, rpmchallenge.com. It's as easy as that right these days. You don't have to, you can find us on Facebook as well. Search for Newfoundland and Labrador and RPM Challenge, but the main at the heart of it is at rpmchallenge.com.
So great.
Yeah.
Guys, just to wrap this before we head on to the old break, RPM recording challenge, try your hand. I don't care if it's a pot, pan, spoon, and you trying to make it work with your iPhone on record. Let's do it, because you don't know what you're going to unlock, and that's what creative courage is all about. And that's what Elling is all about. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Respect. Now we're going to talk about that hat in a minute. Right back after this break, guys. It's Out of the Fog.